It has been over a year since I've started investing thousands of dollars into the S&P 500 index at 23 years old. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how this whole investing journey into the S&P 500 index has even started, how much money I've made in the S&P 500 over the last year, how much dividend income I've received from the S&P 500, and even some of the best ETFs and mutual funds to invest in the S&P 500, and so much more. Now, without further ado, let's get started. I started my investment journey into the S&P 500 with just $5. Yes, just $5 back in 2019. I was honestly a bit scared and skeptical of investing in the S&P 500 and just investing in general, and I was honestly a broke college student where all my friends around me were just day trading all their money and losing thousands of dollars just gambling in the stock market. And then fast forward to 2023, when I finally graduated from college, I ended up with a total balance in my Vanguard investment account of $12,726 in my long-term investments. Now, Vanguard is my chosen personal platform for investing all my money in the stock market, and some of the best brokerages or just investing apps that I always recommend is going to be the big three of Fidelity, Vanguard, and Charles Schwab. However, from the over $12,000 that was invested on the Vanguard platform, a little over $9,000 was actually invested in the S&P 500, hence the thumbnail. And the other $3,000 was actually earning me monthly interest payments from Vanguard's money market fund, ticker symbol VMFXX, where this is where my buying power is in cash right before I deploy my money into the S&P 500. Where just last month, I actually earned $96.36 in monthly interest payments from investing in this fund, which is pretty cool if you ask me. Now fast forward to 2023 through 2024, hence this being a one-year review, my investments mostly into the S&P 500 shot up from over $12,000 to over $71,000 in this one investment account. And I have another investment account with Vanguard that also includes the S&P 500 with a total balance of just over $10,400. Now, the big increase in my investment balance was from me actually working my first full-time role in the finance industry instead of me working multiple fast food restaurant jobs in college. And I invest most of my paycheck into the S&P 500 and also my other long-term investments. So my first investment account with Vanguard, I have a grand total in the S&P 500 of $45,067, or just a little over 91 shares, and I invest in the S&P 500 with an exchange trade fund or ETF, that being Vanguard's VOO. Now, I love Vanguard's VOO because it has a very low expense ratio of 0.03%, and also I love Vanguard's VOO because if I'm investing with Vanguard on their platform, I might as well have a Vanguard S&P 500 index fund like Vanguard's VOO to make my life so simple and easy. And Vanguard is one of the biggest investment firms in the world, but I'm not biased, and some great S&P 500 index fund alternatives are going to be Spider's SPLG and Fidelity's FXAIX. Now, my second Vanguard account, where I also have Vanguard's VOO as a primary holding, I have a grand total of $1,132.28. So my grand total of investing in the S&P 500 over the last year is going to be a grand total of $46,199.28, or just a little over 93 shares. Moving on to the returns, I have amounted over $8,625.18 in my investment account with the S&P 500 with Vanguard over the past year. Now, the reason why is because the S&P 500 has been going absolutely ballistic to the moon, and in my Roth IRA, or my second account with Vanguard, I have just $35.25 in gains over the past year. Now, my grand total of returns, mostly over the past year, in the S&P 500 has been $8,660.43, or a percentage return of 18.75%. Now, that's not too shabby if you ask me. Moving on to the amount of dividends I've received. Currently, Vanguard's VOO pays a dividend yield of around 1.3%, and this dividend is paid quarterly. So honestly, the dividend income is not something to go crazy about, but at least it's higher than some high growth ETFs like QQM or SCHG, which I also own, but it's not going to be as high as other great dividend ETFs like Charles Schwab's SCHD and iShares DGRO, which I also own as well. Over the past year, in March 2023, after I started aggressively investing in the S&P 500, my first dividend payment was $50.19. Then in June 2023, that payment increased to just $55.19. And then in September 2023, the payment increased a lot to $74.22. And then to end the year for December in 2023, the highest dividend payment was $105.56. But in Q1 of 2024, being this year, I received my highest dividend payment from the S&P 500 or Vanguard's VOO of $120.30. So my total amount of dividend payments that I received from the S&P 500 or Vanguard's VOO from March 2023 all the way up to March 2024 was a grand total of $405.46, which is pretty freaking awesome. And my goal with the S&P 500 is to see my dividend payments continue to increase and continue to go up every single quarter because Vanguard's VOO has excellent dividend growth as it pays out a higher dividend every single year, and I will continue my $2,000 per month contribution into buying Vanguard's VOO up until the day I retire. How I personally buy the S&P 500, well, I buy on a weekly basis and dollar cost average into all my ETFs with around $500 to $1,000 I buy into my long-term index funds every single week, but Vanguard's VOO is my highest holding and my highest contributor by far and will stay like that till forever. Now, if you guys want access to my personal investment portfolio with $90,000 invested where I alert members whenever I buy my ETFs and the S&P 500, I even do stock market recaps every single week of my portfolio, and you'll see how I invest in real time with real-time alerts. You could check out my YouTube membership group, and thank you to those who joined and supported so far. And no, I don't care if the market is going to go down, if we're in a recession, if the stock market crashes, I'm still going to be buying my S&P 500 index fund and my other ETFs. So no, I'm not going to get scared if I see some red in the market in the near term or even in the future. A quick summary of the last year, and it has been just simply awesome. And I just absolutely love investing most of my money in the S&P 500. It's a well-diversified basket of stocks of over 500 different companies that represent the US economy. It's a simple and easy investment to where anyone could understand investing in the S&P 500 for the long run, whether you're a beginner or even a pro investor in the stock market. So overall, I give this ETF or index fund a 10 out of 10. Now don't forget to like this video because as Q Puppy did. Now take a look at this video about how to invest in ETFs for beginners and this video about another S&P 500 experience that I had. Now I love you guys so much. Continue to crush in the stock market and take it easy. Peace.